Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the. Move. There we go. Move this over a little bit, real quick. Ah. But in any case, hello everybody. It is JR here, back again with another, as you can see, Life is Strange stream. This time, we're going to be listening to the audiobook for the second Life is Strange novel, Heatwaves. So, and as you can see from the cover and everything, this is going to be a sequel to the Steph and Alex relationship from True Colors, from the end of True Colors. So this is going to be. Hey, what's up? This is going to be pretty cool. Also, the audiobook, just like the Steph story novel, was read by Steph herself, Katie Benz. The audiobook here for Heatwaves is going to be read to us by Alex herself, Erica Mori. So if you guys love the fact that that Katie did the audiobook for Steph's story, you're also going to love the fact that Erica Mori does the audiobook for this. So that's going to be really, really fun. This audiobook, if you can see it in one of the pictures down there, it is written. This book is written by Brittany Morris, so she's the author of this book. Also, before we start with the audiobook, as always, with the just like I did with Steph's story, we will read the little summary in the back of the novel, so that way you get a basis on what the basics of this story is. All right. So first of all, it says Alex and Steph have left Haven Springs in the rearview mirror to travel the country chasing the horizon. Though they don't have much money, they have their guitar and drums and each other. But when their vehicle breaks down, they are stranded. Their only hope, a repair shop in a struggling town in the middle of nowhere. The town is dealing with a severe drought after an extended heat wave wreaked havoc on local crops, plunging its inhabitants into poverty and water rationing. What remains of its essential resources are being diverted to indulge the local senator and gathering support for their out-of-touch political campaign. Feeling the anger and despair of the town's inhabitants, Alex and Steph are compelled to do everything they can to help. But when Alex uses her powers to amplify the senator's fear of the climate crisis in the hope of galvanizing their support, her plan backfires and emotions spiral wildly out of control. Alex and Steph now need to find a way to revive the hope of a failing town and and uh, re, resurrect its history of political action to save the townsfolk and themselves. Yeah, there's plenty of crazy stuff that goes down in this book. Because this book actually came out I think it was last year. I believe it was last year. Yeah, it came out in July last year of 2014, 2024. So this is pretty recent that this came out. So so uh, with that, I am going to dump. Uh, oh, okay. Just making sure there's nothing in here that the audiobook is not. Well, anything in the beginning that the audiobook isn't going to read. But I think they're going to read pretty much the beginning there. Alright, so we put that there. And then I will bring up the audiobook here on my side so I can play. So I can hit play on it. And then I will get my food that I was finishing. I'm gonna finish eating while Erica Mori here reads us this audiobook. And it's going to be very funny because I was caught off guard by it too. Erica Mori does her very best too to try to do impressions of characters, like the Steph impression and stuff. So get ready for some funny accents and stuff that she'll be like throwing on the new characters and stuff and things like that, and giving her best Steph impression. So that's going to be very fun. uh, so in any event, with oh, there we go, a little too far down. There you go. All right. So let's begin.
To the Life is Strange fan community for loving these characters as I do. Get in, losers. We're going back to Colorado. Ye, and I cannot stress this enough, ha.
Clearly they intentionally made sure to put that in because that was an endearing, cringy line that Alex said in True Colors. So, as always, Life is Strange playing into the, the intentional cringy dialogue nature.
The timeline. Author's note. Life is Strange Heatwaves occurs in a timeline where Steph and Alex hit the road out of Haven Springs to chase their rambling band fantasy together. Whether your game choices led to page 1 of this book or not, I hope you enjoy the ride and continue to add your own spin to Life is Strange's world of infinite possibilities. 1. In the Wild. Steph cranks the volume. Driving to the middle of nowhere, she belts, arms thundering out an air drum solo. With peaches on my plate. The urge to add my air guitar to the mix is overwhelming, but I keep my hands on the wheel and find something else to focus on. The trees stand tall and still as we fly past. Skies clear and air blowing hot through the window. You know what that song is about, right? I ask. Steph keeps the drums going and smirks at me. Ass. Obviously. Pretty sure the peach emoji didn't exist in 1985. I grin. Were you there? She asks, jumping back into the lyrics with, a plate full of peaches and someone to share them with, and winks at me. Too much, I giggle. I can't help it. She's so goofy. So, for real, do you know this song's origin story? This was one of the first songs my brother Gabe and I heard on our dad's record player. It sat in the living room for so many years before Gabe asked to dust it off and try it out. I miss him so bad it hurts. Still. Steph rolls her eyes. Yes, I do. Some guy took too much of something, squeezed a bunch of peaches, and wrote a song about how horny he was, the source of all great songwriting. I'm afraid to ask. Horniness or too much of something? Or peaches? All three. When we get to Fort Collins, we need to find something to smoke and squeeze some peaches. Stop! I laugh. I will tuck and roll right out of this car. My cheeks feel hot. My whole head feels hot. I glance at her again. She's smiling at me, an aura of golden light glowing around her head. What? She asks, knowing very well what. To know Steph is to be constantly embarrassed as hell, and also delighted. I can't believe I'm really here, with her. I shake my head and turn back to the road. You're reading me again, aren't you? She asks. You know, I can't read you unless I reach my hand out to you. But you can see I'm happy. At least, I hope you can. And that I'm excited. Of course I can. And I soak in every beautiful, tingly, warm ray of gold. For Fort Collins? I ask, our first destination. For the world, she says, reaching over and squeezing my knee. With you. If she had my powers, she would see I'm glowing too. I'm not even sure with what. Gold for joy? Purple for the tidal wave of butterflies I'm feeling right now? I look down at her hand on my knee and quickly turn my attention back to the road. So, she says, turning down the music and nestling cozily into her seat. When we get there, what are you going to do first? I breathe and think. What does one do there? Fort Collins is so big, compared to what I've gotten used to anyway. Foster homes used to be my whole world, each one the size of a cardboard box. I caught glimpses of Portland on nights when I could sneak out for acoustic shows and underground raves. I never really got a sense of the whole city. And then there's Haven Springs, which is no city at all, but a tiny community in a big wide world of mountains and open sky. I don't know how to calibrate anymore. As if she can read my mind. See a farmer's market? Rent a bike? Smoke weed? All three. At the same time? I like it. I chuckle. But I have to agree. All three sounds nice. You glad we left? She asks me. Of course. Haven Springs was great to both of us, but it's time we moved on. Did what we want, you know? Rocking out on stage, she dreams aloud. Playing whatever. I'm surprised to hear the dreaminess in my own voice, too. This feeling of the open road literally and, I guess, metaphorically feels free. She pulls something out of her pocket. From the corner of my eye, I can see that it's purple and fits in her palm. She shakes it. Of course you brought a shaker egg. Can't go nowhere fast without rhythm, she sings, tapping her free hand on the dashboard, her occupied hand shaking the egg in tandem. Can't go nowhere at all without time. I join in, lending my vocals, my fingers itching to strum my guitar along with the shk, shk, shk of the egg. Can't go nowhere good without you, babe. You're the rhythm to my rhyme. I study Steph, all aglow as she sings with me, like we don't have a care in the world. New city, new careers, new dream. But we've got each other. My mind drifts back to the word babe, and I realize how effortlessly it rolled off my tongue, off both our tongues. Could I call her that one day? Would she let me? Or would she say it's cliche? Then, suddenly, something deep and dark settles into my stomach. Something that twists and coils. Something's wrong. What's the color of feeling like you've forgotten something? Holy shit, the oil! I exclaim, just as a soft clicking sound starts tick, tick, ticking away under the hood. The oil? Didn't you check it before we left? Exclaims Steph. She takes her feet down from the dash, so I know shit just got serious. I thought I did. I guess I forgot. Ugh. I had literally one job. Steph had to load our instruments and backpacks in the car after buying this junker from her friend Hector. All I had to do was keep it on the road, keep all 4 tires on it, and check the oil. What do? I panic, feeling my breathing spiral into something I don't recognize.
Hold on. Got to take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Uh, let's go back a little bit. And
Settles
start.
into my stomach.
There you go.
Something that twists and coils. Something's wrong. What's the color of feeling like you've forgotten something? Holy shit, the oil! I exclaim, just as a soft clicking sound starts tick, tick, ticking away under the hood. The oil? Didn't you check it before we left? Exclaims Steph. She takes her feet down from the dash, so I know shit just got serious. I thought I did. I guess I forgot. Ugh. I had literally one job. Steph had to load our instruments and backpacks in the car after buying this junker from her friend Hector. All I had to do was keep it on the road, keep all 4 tires on it, and check the oil. What do I do? I panic, feeling my breathing spiral into something I don't recognize. Stop! Screams Steph. I slam on the brake way harder than I needed to, and the car lurches. Everything in the back seat and trunk flies forward, our instruments and most things we own. My guitar case slams into the back of my seat and falls back down and hits the center console, sticking into the back seat, letting out a sour twang. Steph and I sit frozen in this car for what seems like forever, just catching our breath. I can't look at her. How could I when this was her dream? Our dream. Taking our music on the road, performing for new people in new places, the Fort Collins Lamplighter Festival up first. We were finally starting the lives we dreamed of for months after getting a taste of the world. We were finally doing the thing. And now we're stuck somewhere on the way. Wait, where the hell even are we? As if we're both thinking the same thing, and I'm sure we are. We look around. Down the road ahead of us, as far as we can see, there are 0 street signs. Not even a speed limit. I glance at the rearview mirror. No street signs back the way we came either. What's the last city sign you remember seeing? I ask her, praying for something, anything. Something like barbell. Bar something. Had enough of bars lately, thanks. And then she surprises me by laughing. I look at her confused. I'm laughing at how right you are, chuckles Steph, leaning back against her seat and pressing her hand to her forehead. Anywhere is better than the Black Lantern, huh? She sighs, content. Can you believe we made it all the way out here? She asks. I'm already feeling the effects of the AC having been off for 20 seconds. But no, I can't believe it. It's only been weeks since I lost Gabe, since Steph and I lost a friend in Jed. No, more than a friend. A father. It was right for us to leave. What else would we do? Stay in Haven Springs and put on shows for the few dozen people who live there? I guess that wouldn't have been so bad. I look at Steph and I realize all over again that I'd go anywhere in the world, as long as she's there with me. I've never had a best friend before. Not like this. Not even the words best friend feel right. I look around. The trees definitely look like they're turning their autumn hues. So why is it so hellishly hot out here? All by ourselves, she continues, swinging the door open. Well, time to find Barbarella. Maybe they have peaches. We walk forever. Well, not forever, but long enough that the gold aura around Steph's head has disappeared. Walk into the middle of nowhere, she reprises, panting as she slings her duffel over her other shoulder for the 50th time. With peaches on my plate, I jump in, my guitar heavy on my back. What can I do but lend my voice? She needs to know she's not alone out here in this sweltering heat. But I look back for only a second, anxiety welling up as I wipe away beads of sweat from my forehead. I can feel my hair sticking to my face. Some is plastered to my glasses. Hey, I say, stopping and pulling off my guitar case for a moment of reprieve, setting it down on the pavement as gently as I can. I still feel the need to apologize to it. Putting it on the ground, even in these circumstances, seems callous. I pat the top of the case to ease the guilt. Yeah? She answers me, stopping and turning around. Whoa, you trying to fry your case? She gestures to my instrument, and I quickly pick it up again. What's the color of guilt? That's actually why I stopped, I say, unable to hide the exasperation in my voice. I gesture over my shoulder. You don't think your drum kit might melt in the car? Shouldn't we, stay close and open the doors for it? Maybe a car will drive by eventually. A smile plays at the corner of Steph's mouth, and she drops her duffel full of both our clothes and rests her hands on her hips. I notice the sweat glistening on her neck. A droplet runs over her collarbone, and I swallow. You really want to turn around and walk 20 minutes back to the car? She asks, her voice playful, when we haven't seen a car all this time? She has a point, because of course she does. I stay silent. There's not much else to say. Maybe the sun will set soon? You want to be out here when night falls? She asks. Would it be such a wild suggestion?
Out in the middle of the desert?
I mean, we have granola bars and crackers. And coyotes? She asks. We had those in Seattle too. Trust me, they're scarier than you'd think. Creepy as hell, and they travel in packs. That's enough to keep my ass walking. But she continues anyway. Besides, Alex, we came out here for an adventure, she exclaims, fists in the air. And damn it, we found one. We've got 3 days before we have to be in Fort Collins. Let's, see the sights, even if it's just trees. And pavement. And pavement. She turns and walks on, and I look ahead at the heat waves shimmering in the middle of the road. We walk until the car shrinks to a dot behind us, and a tiny green highway sign appears in the distance before us. Look, exclaims Steph. That has to be a sign for Barbarella. That has a Z in it, I say, squinting to read it. Beelzebub? Oh, shit. We're walking into a demon cult, she jokes. Or a demon sex cult. But I'm not fucking joking. Yo, what if B-Town is a bad idea? I ask. A place with no cars coming in or out is maybe not somewhere we want to be? Steph is looking past me. Prayers answered. I follow her gaze and spot a car in the distance behind us, flickering with the heat of the road. I find myself hoping that even if this person doesn't stop for us, maybe they could spare some water. Hey, calls Steph, jumping up and down and flailing her arms. The duffel drops to the ground beside her. Hey, help, please. Steph, we don't even know who this is, I whisper. I don't know why I'm whispering. This person is still too far off to even see us, probably, let alone hear us. What if they're a serial killer? Then we have a chance to solve a murder, she says without missing a beat. What? And what if they really do run a sex cult? Steph smiles at me, a laugh threatening to pour forth. Then let's hope they're hot. What the hell? I laugh. Hey, help! Hollers Steph, stepping dangerously close to the road. The vehicle is near enough now to make out that it's a little blue pickup, an old one, probably older than me. The truck pulls up, slows, crawls to a stop, and a guy leans out the window looking exactly how I imagined he would. 40s, slightly disheveled, checkered shirt with the sleeves rolled up to the elbows. He looks like one of those guys from the sun exposure experiments where half the subjects' faces are scarred from constant UV, and the other half is mostly pristine because he's been driving the same 60-mile stretch of road all his life. "You ladies lost?" he asks. His voice doesn't match his face. It's soft, gentle. I study him, but he's looking at Steph. Steph glances at me before turning back to him and stepping up to the truck. "We could use a ride to, She looks down the road and squints at the street sign in a last-ditch effort to say the actual name of the town. "Barbsall?" "Yeah." She hesitates, looking at me again. "Barbsall." The man smiles. I don't know if it's a friendly smile or a knowing smile, which is only contextually different from a sinister one. Maybe if I could read him. A glistening golden aura grows around his head, warm like summer winds in Midwestern fields, soft like cotton balls. Nostalgia floods me, lifts my insides till I'm so light I feel like I could fly. This man loves the thought of Barbazal. "That's my home, born and raised. Name's Silas." "How's it hanging, Silas?" asks Steph, picking up the duffel full of our few belongings and, to my horror, heaving it into the back of the truck. I catch her hand just as she lets go of the bag. "What are you doing?" I hiss. At first, she looks startled. Then her mouth curves into a grin as she glances down at my hand, still around her wrist. "Do I look afraid?" she asks. There's no gold halo around her, but I study her eyes, beaming with hope. All peace, no fear. "No," I admit, "but maybe you should be. You want to climb into a random truck with a random guy?" Just because he's all warm and fuzzy about Barbazal doesn't mean he's warm and fuzzy. "He's not a random guy. He's Silas." But before I can jump in with just how unhelpful it is to know his name, if that's really his name at all, she continues. "And besides," she says, breaking away from my grasp and reaching for the guitar strap slung over my shoulder, "the sooner we get to Barbzall, the sooner I can get us more oil. The sooner we get more oil, the sooner we get back on the road. And the sooner we get back on the road..." She lifts my guitar up over the truck door and lays it in the bed as gently as a newborn baby. "The sooner we can get to Fort Collins," I finish for her. "And then on to the rest of the world." She smiles, her eyes sparkling. She winks and walks up to the passenger door as casually and cozily as if this were Ryan's truck. I sigh, because she's right. She's charging ahead into the Colorado wilderness to find motor oil and sustenance because it's our only way forward. Maybe if I suck it up and pretend we're choosing to get into this strange car with this strange man and drive to a strange town we've never heard of, it'll feel like a choice. But as I stare at our duffel and my guitar case in the truck bed, and I rub my wrist to quell this unsettling wriggling I feel in my stomach, I can't help but think, "You coming, Alex?" This doesn't feel like a choice. And now Silas knows my real name. I take back what I said earlier. Knowing someone's name suddenly feels very personal. I look up at the driver's side, where Silas's head turns, and I hear him say something softly. Steph laughs, that gold aura glowing around her head again. Silas has one to match. He's still happy. That means we should be safe, right?
All right, real quick, because that was the end of that chapter. So we're going into chapter 2, but before that, real quick, me take these dishes to the kitchen real quick, and I'll be right back. Alrighty. Oop, before I hit play on the next chapter here, you could already tell the what I meant immediately from that first chapter of Erica Mori putting on her impressions and accents immediately. Hey, I will say, from the very first chapter, you could already tell that Erica is having a lot of fun doing this. And she does take it seriously, when the situation calls for it within the book. Like, she's just as serious as she is when being goofy with a lot of the little voices and stuff.
Now Silas
Her step
knows my
impression
real
is actually
name.
pretty funny.
I take back what I said
By
earlier.
the way. Where's the... Oh, here we go. There we go. Just go this way. And let's go with chapter 2. I said
3.
chapter 2.
2.
There you go. Thank you.
Barbazol. The truck smells exactly how I expect it to. Like ass. But Silas is warm. A goofball. He's in the middle of an improv session right now, which he claims are world famous. Had my bacon, had my eggs, had my coffee today, got my energy drink, and I'm on my way. Steph glances over her shoulder at me with a face that asks, "Where else could you find free entertainment like this?" I smile at her optimism. I stare out the window, getting lost in the scenery, and notice the first sign we've seen in a while. Jonah Macon for Senate, it reads. I've heard of that guy, but I don't know much about him. Jonah Macon will bring home the bacon. I roll my eyes. Whoever he is, he's not afraid of doing the expected. Got my liquid sunshine and friendly faces, continues Silas. Silas goes quiet, and Steph jumps in for him. We're all piled in this truck, and we're off to the races. Woohoo! Whoops Silas. You're a natural. Y'all musicians or something? Actually, yeah, replies Steph. I glance over my shoulder through the back window of the cab at my guitar case, happily nestled in the bed of the truck. I wish I'd brought it in here with me. My fingers itch to pluck the strings, to sit cross-legged back here, shut my eyes, and let the music carry me away. I think of Gabe, whose arms would have been long enough to reach through the window and get it for me. He'd insist I play. He'd insist I do what makes me happy. I'm facing my fears, Gabe, finding new spaces. I continue the song in my head. I watch the trees go by as I let Silas's truck take me to wherever Silas decides. He doesn't have to stop in Barbazal. What if he does and Barbazal's not safe anyway? You know how I feel about brand new places. Hey, comes Steph's voice. I'm yanked back into the conversation. Alex, you okay? Oh, yeah, I'm just, I look around for a distraction, and my eyes find the crate of water on the floor beside my feet. Silas, mind if I have a bottle of water? His eyes find me in the rearview mirror, and they narrow so slightly that at first I wonder if I'm seeing things. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, he says. But the aura around his head fades from brilliant gold into a sad, ever-bluing cobalt. Are you sure it's okay? I ask. Steph cocks an eyebrow and looks from me to Silas. He adjusts his hands on the steering wheel and lets out a long, deep breath. I don't mean to be inhospitable, he apologizes. We're just short on water, is all. Mind keeping it to one bottle each? Steph nods. Sure, she says, reaching into the back and finding one. I reach down and do the same. They're warm. Of course they are. It's approximately 500 degrees out here, and if this truck has AC, Silas isn't using it. So, I begin, too curious to let the question go unasked. Why is Barbazal short on water? I take a swig, letting the clear liquid slake the thirst I didn't realize I'd been carrying. I immediately want 3 more bottles. Silas lets out another sigh, and his eyes meet mine in the rearview mirror again. The blue aura around his head brings out the depth of them as he studies me. It's a long story, miss, he says, his voice heavy, and we're already to Barbazal. The truck slows, and I look around as we turn right down a dirt road. The trees are sparse here, tall and austere, dry. Everything about them looks pained, bending like old war-weary soldiers. Whoa, says Steph, probably thinking the same thing I am. Feels like we're driving through a graveyard. Just up this way to Elias's shop, says Silas. Another sign. Vote Jonah Macon, it reads, followed by Beat Lazy Maisie. Jonah versus Maisie, I guess. Never heard of the latter. Who's Jonah Macon? I ask. Steph side-eyes me, probably because I just rocketed this conversation headlong into politics. But I couldn't help myself. My chest tightens, and I hope she intercepts the telepathic message I'm beaming to her. God, telepathy would be really convenient right now. Sorry, Steph. Little Joni? He was born and raised here. Now he's a big-shot senator. Or hopeful, anyway. Long as he beats that snake woman, Crazy Maisie. I tense at that word. Crazy. I rub my thumb along my wrist, a comforting motion my therapist taught me to do when I'm stressed. Crazy.
Was that Dr. Lynn?
I've heard that word so many times. From others, from myself until just months ago. So many adult faces staring me down with disdain, using synonyms they thought were kinder. No, less legally incriminating. Insane, unwell, unbalanced, disturbed, demented. I haven't heard the word crazy in so long, and it's still too soon. Steph brings me back to the present. Who's Crazy Maisie? She asks gingerly. Clearly, she's not sure she wants to know the answer. Neither am I. Maisie Dorsey. She took my rain barrel away. Silas sighs. There's the faintest bite to his words. an edge he's suppressing, like he ate something that's turning his stomach. That blue, wavering aura that had been pulsing since I brought up the water bottle fades, from blue to indigo, to purple, to magenta, and heats up, searing and prickly, all the way to red. Searing hot, blazing, angry red that blares in my ears like a siren, sending shockwaves of pain through my head. Passed a piece of shit legislation, supposed to be about conserving water, when it's really all for show, to get the swing votes in the middle. She's as right-wing as they come, don't give a damn about the environment or nothing. He stops himself, like a dinner host realizing he's upsetting his guests. Sorry, he says, taking a hand off the wheel, picking up a cloth from the dashboard that looks like it was used as a dipstick cleaner in a past life, and dragging it across the back of his neck. Got carried away there for a minute. I'm sure Maisie's a nice lady, but she's just so misguided. Could use some common sense. Know what I mean? She ain't been here, in Barbzall. She's in Denver, where there ain't no water shortage. How's she know what the hell Barbzall needs? Steph throws a look at me that I can't quite read. It's not quite fear. Apprehension? Is she nervous? Not enough to warrant a purple aura, apparently. She looks back to Silas. So, I'm guessing Jonah has your vote. Smart. Get him back to a topic he enjoys. The truck wobbles slightly on the road as we approach town. Little buildings grow bigger, although sparsely placed. Looks almost like a ghost town. My vote and my sword, he jokes. We make our way through the town square, where more signs for Jonah litter the streets. Every telephone pole, every stop sign, every lawn has a sign that boasts the owner loves Jonah Macon or hates Maisie Dorsey, or both. We drive up to a building with a big rusty sign. Elias's Spark. This here's the place, declares Silas, swinging the door open and hopping out before the truck has just barely begun to idle. Steph gives me a comforting smile before turning and hopping out of the passenger side. My door opens, and Silas is there to greet me with a beaming smile, hand out to help me down. Thanks, I offer. Now that I can see him up close, his eyes look heavy, showing every bit of his age. 40s, 50s, however old he is, he's clearly been through a lot. And a lot of days without sunscreen. He helps me down and adjusts his baseball cap on his head, marching to the back of the truck where Steph is already heaving our duffel out. No, let me get that, he says. My back might be older than yours, but my biceps lift more each day, I guarantee it. Careful with the assumptions, she says, chuckling. I'm a drummer. My double kick pedals alone are heavier than that thing. Touché, he says, in the worst French accent I've ever heard. I have to smile at his heart, though. I look around. Elias's Spark has seen better days, or at least I hope it has. From the looks of the place, it was once a gas station. There's an old, I assume broken down, gas pump on the corner right by the front door, stuck on the price, 79 cents. I can't remember a point in my lifetime when gas was that cheap, so I'd guess this thing is way older than me. In fact, everything here screams that word.
Shit. You ever have that much freaking, pay that much for gas?
1.
Oh, what the hell is happening? Shit.
Finding one. I reach down and do the same. The bar clear liquid slake the thirst I didn't realize I'd been carrying.
Okay. I don't know how that got fucked up like that, but me see if I can. Alright, hopefully.
Just so misguided. Could use some common sense. Know what I mean?
Happen again.
She ain't been here in Barbsall. She's in Denver, where there ain't no water shortage. How's she know what the hell Barbsall needs? Steph throws a look at me that I can't quite read. It's not quite fear. Apprehension? Is she nervous? Not enough to warrant a purple aura, apparently. She looks back to Silas. So, I'm guessing Jonah has your vote. Smart. Get him back to a topic he enjoys. The truck wobbles slightly on the road as we approach town. Little buildings grow bigger, although sparsely placed. Looks almost like a ghost town. My vote and my sword, he jokes. We make our way through the town square, where more signs for Jonah litter the streets. Every telephone pole, every stop sign, every lawn has a sign that boasts the owner loves Jonah Macon or hates Maisie Dorsey, or both. We drive up to a building with a big rusty sign, Elias's Spark. This here's the place, declares Silas, swinging the door open and hopping out before the truck has just barely begun to idle. Steph gives me a comforting smile before turning and hopping out of the passenger side. My door opens, and Silas is there to greet me with a beaming smile, hand out to help me down. Thanks, I offer. Now that I can see him up close, his eyes look heavy, showing every bit of his age. 40s, 50s, however old he is, he's clearly been through a lot. And a lot of days without sunscreen. He helps me down and adjusts his baseball cap on his head, marching to the back of the truck where Steph is already heaving our duffel out. No, let me get that, he says. My back might be older than yours, but my biceps lift more each day, I guarantee it. Careful with the assumptions, she says, chuckling. I'm a drummer. My double kick pedals alone are heavier than that thing. Touché, he says, in the worst French accent I've ever heard. I have to smile at his heart, though.
Considering accents that Erica Mori is throwing out all over the place. I love how much she's trying, though. Especially considering she's giving them kind of a really southerny accent, even though they're in Colorado. They're still in Colorado. That's pretty funny.
I look around. Elias's Spark has seen better days, or at least I hope it has. From the looks of the place, it was once a gas station. There's an old, I assume broken down, gas pump on the corner right by the front door, stuck on the price, 79 cents. I can't remember a point in my lifetime when gas was that cheap, so I'd guess this thing is way older than me. In fact, everything here screams that word. Old. Everything is dusty, rusted, worn down, or all three. I count 6 vehicles parked side by side in the gravel lot around the side of the building, and several stacks of tires sit baking in the sun. It smells like rubber, motor oil, and gasoline. Whoa, says Steph, clearly in awe of the place. She steps up next to me, duffel bag in tow, and eyes wide. Ain't much, but it's been here 80 years, says Silas. Wish I could have seen this place back in its heyday in the 40s. He whistles his respect. Every gleamin' road rocket in a 50-mile radius came through Elias's spark. People don't anymore, I have to ask. Not like they used to. Barbsall used to be a mandatory road trip and stop on I-70. Now, people just drive on through for Denver. It's only 6 hours away now. Back when cars would max out at 40 miles per hour, you're talking near 12 hours without food, water, or gas. They had to stop somewhere. I guess he makes a good point. Clearly, he's thought long and hard about this. Silas walks around the front of the truck toward the gaping garage door. Elias! He hollers, although with his accent, it just sounds like Lias. A voice replies from somewhere nearby, muffled, buried. Yup. Steph looks at me. You okay? Yeah. I answer too fast. I shrug to further sell the reply because I know she's not buying it. But now she's looking at me like she flat out doesn't believe me. Yeah, I'm fine. Just tired. And super nervous about something, she says, reaching forward to take my hands. Listen, Alex, if this place is really making you uncomfortable, we can get us a bottle of oil and get out. I'm sure Silas would take a 50 to drive us straight back to the car. I think for a moment about what she's saying, and I look around. How easy would it be for Silas and Elias to grab us, tie us up, throw us in the back of the truck, and take us out into the woods somewhere to kill us?
Yeah.
It would have been easy enough for Jed, even if I hadn't walked out there with him willingly first. Who would come looking for us? Ryan? Sure. But would he ever find us? He's Mr. Park Ranger Man, yeah, but a homicide investigator? I had to get myself out of that mine shaft. No one would have found me. I'm not going through that again. Alex. Huh? Yeah. Let's hurry and get out of here. Steph can tell when I'm spiraling. Anxiety is like that for me. My brain starts locking up. I start disassociating, and information bounces off my ears instead of being processed like it's supposed to. The children's home attendants used to call it spacing out, but now I know it by a better name. Maladaptive daydreaming. Maybe Steph is right. Maybe we should get out of here. You coming? She asks. I look up and she's walking up the driveway to Elias's shop. Yeah. I thought the outside smelled like motor oil and gasoline, but inside the aroma is almost unbearably strong. Broken equipment fills the garage. The space is 20 feet across with only 4 feet of walking space. It looks like someone set up for a garage sale and then never got around to selling anything. Car parts I can't identify line the walls. Belts and wheels, pipes and bottles of fluids I couldn't identify if I wanted to because their labels have fallen away. Something crashes at the back of the store, making me jump. Steph glances over her shoulder at me to ask silently if I'm okay. I nod. Come on back, girls, comes Silas's voice from somewhere in the back of the shop. Then I hear another voice follow that one less excited at the idea of company. Not up for visitors, it mumbles. There's oil in the lobby. Come on, Elias. You want him to just leave the cash on the counter? Yup. Don't be like this. You know that's why people don't come round here no more. Steph and I exchange a glance at that last part. That's why people don't come round here no more. Implying that 1, people don't come round here no more, and 2, there's probably a reason for that. Could it be the unfriendliness Silas just mentioned? Or maybe that everyone here is as reclusive as Elias? Or could it be something worse? I narrow my eyes at Steph in a way that I hope says, Let's just leave the cash on the counter and get out. But she tears her gaze away and spies something that's clearly more important. Alex, look, she exclaims, darting to the wall where a huge picture of a shiny red hot rod hangs, slightly crooked. Oh, she's beautiful. 1965 Mustang. She whistles. Didn't know you were so into cars. I may drive a bag of screws, but I can dream. She sighs as she looks up at it. When we get that record deal after Harson sees us perform in Fort Collins, I'm getting one of those. I have to chuckle. What makes you think we're getting a record deal? She looks at me like, how could you think anything else? Dude, when Isaac Harson hears you romance those strings, he'll go weak at the knees, like I do. I feel heat creep into my cheeks in the best way. Oh my God, Steph, I say, smiling, tucking my hair behind my ear and glancing at the far side of the room where I know Silas and Elias are waiting for us. Let's just get a bottle of oil and get out. Sounds like a great idea. Pick a favorite. She's smiling and gesturing to the shelf behind her, where I see nothing. The shelf is empty. And at the very bottom is a little yellow price tag that's partially covered in rust. Motor oil, $5.99. I sigh. How can they be out of motor oil? Guess Silas was right. This place isn't exactly a road trippin' stop anymore, replies Steph, following it up with a mock dramatic gasp. Maybe we should go. Oh, I don't know. Ask the owner. I roll my eyes. If he's a cannibal, she says, taking my hand in hers, he can eat me first. Yuck. We round the corner, Steph first, and as I lean my head in, I half expect to find Silas and Elias crouched side by side with some unidentifiable piece of meat roasting over a campfire. But nope, they're standing, looking perfectly normal. Silas is leaning on the workbench behind him, turned towards Elias, who's got his back turned to us. He's leaning over another workbench, working hard on something. I can't see it from here, but something else about him catches my attention. His shoulders are slumped, his posture hunched, and a huge blue aura glows brightly around his head, thick and suffocating like a humid fog.
That's not good.
And cold. So cold. And I get the overwhelming feeling of something heavy, like a lead sack resting on my chest. Elias is deeply, crushingly sad.
Clearly he is.
About what, I wonder? I clear my throat. Silas looks up at me, but Elias stays where he is. Hey, ladies, welcome to the shop, he says with a warm smile, gesturing to the rest of the room. Silas, spits Elias. A single word, but it speaks volumes. Steph clocks the tone switch too, because she glances at me and then clears her throat. Mr. Elias, sir? We're just here for motor oil, so if you could find a bottle in the back, we'll just... Don't have any in the back. Whatever we've got is out front. Jesus, this guy is cranky. Why the attitude? We're paying customers, after all. I feel my eyes narrow involuntarily. Whoops. But I can still feel the anger welling up. There's no oil out front, I say, catching the snip in my voice. I soften. You're all out. Clearly, I've said something earth-shattering because everybody freezes. Everyone. Elias's hands stop working on whatever he's working on. Silas's eyes do a slow sweep from Elias to me and then to Steph. And then something softens in Elias's face. He sighs, like a teacher who was about to reprimand a student for talking out of turn, and then realized they made a good point. I'll see if I have more in the back. We might. I'll check, says Silas, with one foot already out the door. If we're out, maybe Jonah's caravan has a bottle we can use. And Silas is out. Whir, whir. Elias immediately pours himself back into his mysterious project. Whoa, Alex, look. Steph stands and wanders to the wall of shelves where more photos of classic cars rest, all of them in black and white and dusty. Elias must be really into cars, like more than a hobby. It looks like cars are his whole life. They're to him what music is to me. Steph leans forward to examine a little red box with gold trim, and I get up to join her, but my eyes remain on Elias's back. It couldn't have been the oil, could it? Who gets that worked up over running out of motor oil? Maybe the simple act of Silas leaving Elias alone with his thoughts. Or, wait, no. It feels like something deeper. I glance at Steph one more time before stepping forward, hand outstretched to Elias's back. Something about this man, about how a single sentence can send him into such deep sadness that I can see it around his head, feel its temperature, almost taste it, ignites a curiosity in me that I can't extinguish. I can't just ignore his pain. Cold seeps into my fingertips, trickling up my fingers and into my palm, my wrist, my forearm, like water defying gravity. I clench my teeth as the blue hue travels up into my chest, and I shut my eyes, sinking into Elias's feelings. I step into the aura. I'm still in Barbazal, but outside. Red, white, and blue flags flutter in the wind, strung along pennants weaving through the town square. There are people everywhere. Like more people than I thought could live in a town as empty and off the map as Barbazal. I'd never even heard of this place before today. And yet there are crowds bunching up along the side of the main road we just drove through, eager to reach the barriers keeping them from throwing themselves into the street. I crane my neck and stand on my tiptoes to get a better look. I'm already short, and the arms in the air cheering on whoever's over there aren't making this any easier. I can hear cars crawling past. Flashes of shiny red, glittering chrome bumpers, and brilliant white rims with white walls indicate that these are classic cars. Is it some kind of car show? The crowd swells from cheering into straight-up shrieking in excitement, and soon I see why. A gigantic balloon float pulls up the rear of this parade. I don't know what else to call it. At least 10 feet high. 2 smiling women in white blouses and jeans with cowboy hats and red lipstick toss candy into the crowd. Only the youngest out here bend to find it. And when I look back up at the float, I see him. The subject of everyone's worship, a man in a navy blue blazer with a lighter blue necktie, tied perfectly, dark jeans, white cowboy boots, and a matching white cowboy hat. His glistening smile is warm, charming. He must be at least in his 40s. He's actually incredibly handsome, in a Ken doll sort of way. Like if Ken owned a farm and never had to actually farm anything a day in his life. Jonah Macon will bring home the bacon, reads the banner along the side of the float as it passes. I look around at all the smiling faces and I think back to Elias. Why would such a joyful scene make him so profoundly sad? And then I look around for him. Wait, where is Elias? I look over my shoulder and find Elias's shop across the way, just as worn down as it was today when Steph and I walked in. This must be a recent memory. There he stands, wearing the same overalls, downing the last of a bottle of water which looks like it had only a few drops in it to begin with. He tenses. I feel the tightness in my shoulders with him, then crushes the empty bottle in his hand and hurls it to the ground. Then he marches back inside. I look back up at Jonah, expecting to see that movie star smile, but instead I see something else. His smile is fallen as he looks toward Elias's shop. He's broken. Just a little. That political mask he's wearing, that all politicians have to wear at least sometimes, cracked for a moment. Did anyone else see it? Or are they all mesmerized by the banners and the free candy and the fact that he's already back to smiling and waving again? Whatever's up with Elias, it has everything to do with Jonah Macon. Whoosh! I'm back in the shop. I'm staring at the ground. I hear the faint tinkling of music, like the world's tiniest xylophone playing a song I recognize. It's a song my mom used to hum all the time when I was little, a song that she kept in her back pocket her whole journey to America with my dad. When all the world is darkest, you're alone and feel forgotten. Know the road ahead is there. Even if the fog is thick, you're lost and feel alone. Know the road ahead is there. The rain can make the journey slick. You're insecure and unsure. Know the road ahead is there. And so am I. I'm staring up at Elias's back. No, his face. He's looking at me. I say, lowering my hand and weaving my fingers together sheepishly behind my back. Just wondering what you're doing over there. But he's peering past me at Steph. Don't touch that, he growls, marching past me toward her. Panic sets into my chest and creeps up my neck. My heart races as he nears her, marching, fists balled, red fireball erupting over his head, growing so huge it burns my eyes. Is he going to hurt her? Steph! I yell. Steph looks up at me in alarm, and then to Elias and jumps out of the way just before Elias slams his hand down on the now open red box. Just before it shuts, I catch a glimpse of a bright red classic car under the lid, rotating slowly. The music stops as abruptly as it started. Steph and I look at each other, and then I look at Elias. Sorry, offers Steph. It just looks so pretty. I wanted to see. Elias's hands curl into fists on the table. I'm really sorry, continues Steph. That gets Elias to soften again. The red aura vanishes. I see my way in. Elias? I ask. Earlier when Silas brought up Jonah Macon, you seemed upset. Who is he? He scoffs. Steph looks at me like, why the hell are you asking that? I know, Steph. Get the oil, get the hell out. But I have questions. Important ones. Ones with answers that might only lie here, right now, in this room with Elias. Jonah Macon, says Elias. He speaks like the name burns on his tongue. Is the lowest, vilest sellout I've ever met. He turns and looks at me. He's all anyone talks about round here anymore, now that he's back from his fancy office in Denver, sucking up to conservatives, calling himself a centrist. He's a damn liar. Why the fanfare then? Asked Steph. Because these people of Barbazal are too gullible to know what's good for 'em. They think old Jonah Macon will fix our drought, bring us our water supply back after they dammed up the river. Well, I tell you what. He takes a step closer, and I flinch before I realize he's walking past me. Jonah Macon won't bring home the bacon until he makes it rain. A dam? They're in the middle of a drought and someone dammed the river? I glance at Steph, who nods at me. We both catch that Elias may have meant make it rain, literally and figuratively. But even with all the venom spewing from his words, Elias's aura still glows blue. There's more to this story. People who have it out for politicians often seethe with rage, boil with anger, with no place to put it. Elias, something about Jonah makes him sad. Not just sad, hopeless? Silas bursts back into the room with the triangle-shaped yellow bottle in his hand and takes one glance at Elias before analyzing the whole situation. "Aw, hell. You got him talking about Jonah, didn't you?" he asks me, setting the bottle on the table, shoving his hands in his pockets and sighing. "Actually, you did," chuckles Steph. "You said Jonah's entourage might have some oil with them." "Well, luckily I don't have to ask," he says, nodding at the bottle. "Besides, his little club is impossible to get a minute in with anyway. Damn politicians are so hard to talk to." "See," hisses Elias. "Ain't got time for nobody. No common folk anymore. Jonah's too good for us now." "Oh, Elias, don't say that," Silas encourages. "You know everything he does is spelled out for him. What he says, what he wears, hell, how he shapes his beard. They probably don't even let him wipe his own ass anymore." I believe Silas on that one. People in positions of power, bought or not, are often highly curated. I once saw a TikTok from an ex-advisor to the White House talking about the rounds of analysis that go into choosing a politician's socks. Who pays that much attention to socks? "Well," says Steph, bringing the conversation back around, "thanks for the oil." She holds out a $10 bill. Elias takes it, and just like that, we have a precious bottle of oil in our possession. I exchange a smile with her, and her face says it all. We're getting out of here. "Thanks, Elias," nods Steph. "Thanks, Silas." And we turn to leave. But just before we reach the door, I hear Elias's voice behind us. "Hey, ladies? How'd you know to pull over for oil? Most cars don't give an indication that it's low." I turn and feel my cheeks growing hot with embarrassment. I scratch the back of my neck and chuckle. I kind of let the engine die." "What?" asks Elias. Silas bursts into laughter. "Oh, hell, you might need a whole new engine then."
Jesus
"What?"
Christ.
cries Steph.
Yep.
"What kind of car is it?" asks Elias, bringing the conversation back down from hysterics. 2001 Saturn SL? Elias whistles and shakes his head. "Yep. I don't even know if they make parts for those anymore, girls. I wouldn't even know what I was looking at if I did take a look." "Let's see," says Steph, pulling out her phone and showing it to Elias. "I took a picture of under the hood just in case I needed to, I don't know, compare oils or something." Silas stifles another laugh. But Elias just furrows his brows and squints down at the phone. "Hard to tell from just a photo, but those pistons look scratched to hell." "What are pistons?" asks Steph. And scratched to hell doesn't sound good. "Long story short," Silas chimes in, "they keep the car running. But again, you're not going to find 20-something-year-old pistons here. Maybe not even online." "So," I begin, "we have more oil now, But if we can't get new pistons, then. I finish the sentence in my head, hoping against everything that the answer is no. Are we stuck here? Probably won't run. I think back to Steph's drum kit in the sweltering heat, the skins warping, the pedals loosening. I hope it's okay, if it hasn't been stolen. We covered it up well enough, but if people see an abandoned car and decide to poke around inside, they might find the drum kit anyway. Renewed vigor grips my heart, and this time I finish Steph's sentence out loud. There has to be somewhere else we haven't tried. I'm the only mechanic in a 50-mile radius. I can see about ordering specialty pistons for you, but that'll take at least 2 days. 2 days? Exclaims Steph.
Yeah, you
But
think it'd be longer,
that's
actually.
Saturday. We have a show in Fort Collins Friday night. Silas, I ask, what if could we borrow your truck just to get us to Fort Collins for the show, and then we'll bring it right back. Promise. You could even keep collateral. Steph raises an eyebrow at me like, what the hell do you mean by collateral? She's right.
What, the truck?
We don't own anything. A granola bar doesn't exactly scream collateral.
I don't know.
We'd have to bring along all our instruments for the show,
The truck
and
for
even the most
collateral?
expensive thing we have, the car, is a piece of shit on 4 wheels. Maybe fewer wheels than that by now.
You could probably
Silas gives me
sell
the
the car
saddest
for
smile I've
parts
seen in a long
individually.
time. Sorry, ladies. No can do. I've got some sheetrock to haul up to the dam tomorrow night. Even if I did trust y'all, no offense, but we've only just met. None taken, says Steph, but I can hear the disappointment in her voice. I can't. Silas holds his hands out and purses his lips apologetically. His head glows purple. He's nervous. Probably at the fact that 2 complete strangers just asked to borrow his car. But Elias's blue ring around his head has disappeared, and he chimes in. Y'all can stay at the Crown Inn for the night since you're stranded. As for Jude, tell him I sent you. He'll give y'all a room on the house. Really? Asked Steph eagerly. That's amazing. Thank you. She's right. That really is amazing. Elias must be super dialed into the neighborhood to be able to just whip up a hotel room like that, especially with all the huge crowds here to see Jonah. Thank you, I say, and I mean it. It's great to have a place to stay. Beats having to sleep in the car, miles away, alone, in the dark, in the middle of nowhere. Steph has gone suddenly silent after that expressive thank you she uttered only moments ago, and she clasps her hands and stares at the ground, lost in thought. Her aura glows blue, and my heart sinks. I know exactly what's wrong. Oh, Silas, I ask before he steps out the door. He turns to look at me. Would you mind driving us back to our car tonight? We left something important in there. I glance at Steph as her face lights up. That blue ring hovering around her beanie fades into the brilliant gold from earlier. I'm sure I'm smiling the biggest, dumbest smile right now, but I'd do anything for Steph. We're getting that drum kit before it melts. Sure thing, exclaims Silas. He keeps talking, but his words fade into the background for me as I notice Elias leaning on the work table, hands balled, staring at that music box. 3. The hotel.
Okay, so far, clearly the situation gotten worse. Because instead of a quick oil change, since you didn't do the oil change in a better, timely manner, the car was without oil for a while, so you clearly damaged the engine now. So you kind of made your situation even worse. So Yay. See, it, it's at this point you could have had well, depending on what timeline you want to go with, uh you should have called you should have called Chloe for a mechanic. Depending on what timeline you're going with, I think Chloe has a nice mechanics business to go with. Either a mechanics business or she has some mechanical know-how, so she probably could have helped you in this situation. You know, Steph, if you still have Chloe's number on your phone or something. Mm. But if any of you are curious, with that being said, I do not expect a a cameo from Chloe or Max or whatnot in this story. Especially considering at this point we are so disconnected from those events at this point that I think having them inserted into the story in some way would kind of come off as too much unnecessary fan servicey, and depending on how you're even gonna do it, maybe too much pandering. So yeah, don't expect them to show up in any real way. Uh, Probably outside of maybe a throwaway reference or something, maybe from Steph, probably. Because Steph is the only one that knows Chloe anyway. Alex has no idea who the fuck any of those people are. So, yet again, getting more and more disconnected, so it wouldn't really make sense to force that in at this point.
The motor oil is now in the car, and it still won't start. Elias was right. We need new pistons, and they don't make them anymore. But at least now, Steph's drum kit is safely in the back of Silas's truck. Silas and Steph are standing here with me in line in the lobby. And the hotel is an absolute zoo. Photographers with cameras as big as my guitar stand lingering around, keeping their eyes moving. Clearly, they're here to catch a glimpse of Jonah Macon, but who knows if he's even staying here. Silas said he has an entourage. You'd think he'd have his own trailer park somewhere, secretive in the woods. Rock stars have tour buses, don't they? Why not politicians?
He probably loves the attention, that's why.
Hey, whispers Steph. You really think Elias can get us a room here? She looks way more relaxed now that we've got her other best friend in tow. Her drum kit is in pristine condition. Well, at first glance, anyway. It'll be impossible to tell until we can see it up close, and once it's cooled down from the heat. The sunset outside the window just behind her is glowing a brilliant orange, and I smile up at her. He seemed pretty sure of himself, I reply, but I hope the answer is yes. If not here, where else will we stay? We're about to find out. Yes. Are you here for emergency water bottles, or do you need a room? Because we don't have either right now, drones the weary young man at the counter, clicking through something on his keyboard faster than I've ever seen anyone type before. Clearly, he's too busy to even make eye contact. but I clocked the mention of emergency water bottles. Silas wasn't kidding. Hey there, Jude. Silas cuts in from behind us. Busy night? Jude gives him a smirk that seems to half say, "Are you stupid?" and half say, "Haha, very funny." "I reckon you don't need a room for tonight," asked Jude, all formal politeness and non-Barbazalian accent gone from his voice. He's with a friend now, or at least a contact. "I don't," says Silas. "But these two ladies do. Courtesy of Elias, if you please." Something changes in Jude's face as he turns to me and Steph. "Silas, I can't. Elias says you have a spare room." "Well, it's not really available," he insisted. "Silas?" Jude is snapping now. "May I speak to you over here, please?" He turns to us and dons that front desk smile again. "Pardon, ladies. So sorry for the trouble." "It's Steph and Alex. Thanks," says Steph. "Damn," I say to her as the two walk away. "What?" she asks. If I get referred to as one of two ladies tonight again, I might scream. Might as well say, "These two humans with tits would like to have a word with you." If I was drinking water, it would be flying out my nose and all over the carpet. Oh my God, I snort. "Besides," she continues, pulling her drumsticks out of her back pocket, "I have a feeling we'll get out of here a lot faster if we assert ourselves. You know?" "Are you insinuating we start threatening people with drumsticks?" Hell no. "These are way too expensive to be used as weapons," she says. "Unless we're secretly in the middle of a LARP you forgot to tell me about, and these are actually magic wands." I roll my eyes. "That's what I need," I sigh wistfully. "Another LARP." "Oh yeah, I forgot. I still owe you my hand in marriage." "Oh yeah," I tease, "and all its associated benefits." "At least wait till we have a room," she whispers, reaching over and intertwining her fingers in mine. I go warm all over. We both look up at Silas and Jude, who are in the middle of a quite heated discussion, probably about the room in question. I overhear a conversation right behind us, and I don't dare turn around. "That Maisie miss is gonna get us all killed," says a woman. Someone else lends their voice. "Right? How can she support this?" they ask. "Yes, we should get to decide what to do with our bodies," chimes another, reinforcing the first two. "This isn't a morality question, it's a question of health care." Damn. Zero regard for the environment and opposes the right to bodily autonomy. Yikes. I glance at Steph, who doesn't seem to notice the conversation happening behind us. She's still watching Silas and Jude. "So," continues Steph, "what was up with Elias anyway, huh?" "What do you mean?" "He really freaked out at us. And you seemed really bothered by whatever you saw in his, aura. Did you find out what his deal was?" I grow quiet. I can only imagine. Clearly cars are Elias's thing. And actually, they're Jonah's too. His whole procession was filled with them. Classic ones. Even that bright red one with the chrome rims and white walls. It looked just like the one in the music box. Hello?" "Earth to Alex." Sorry, I was thinking. Let me know if this is too personal a question, but since you saw his aura..." She pulls her hand away and steps in front of me, all ears now. "What was it like?" "Blue, mostly," I say. I can't figure out why. Something about Jonah Macon makes Elias so sad. Maybe they had a fight at some point. Or maybe they fought over a lover. Yuck. Or maybe, given the fact that they look like they're 30 years apart, Jonah used to work for him? You seem really invested in all of this, says Steph. She squeezes my hand and leans in. Remember to protect yourself, all right? I know you feel for people. Deeply. Thanks, Steph. I promise I'm looking out for me. But these people have a pretty dire situation on their hands. A drought? An election coming up? Isn't that happening this week? I remember what the woman somewhere behind us said. That Maisie miss is going to get us all killed. Or, I continue, what if it has to do with Maisie Dorsey? Steph shrugs, just as Silas and Jude wrap up whatever they were discussing and walk toward us. All right, ladies, here's what we can do for you, says Silas, hands out apologetically again. Steph and I both know the answer we're about to get. Nothing. That's what they can do for us. Where the hell are we going to stay tonight? Shit, mutters Steph, so only I can hear. I squeeze her hand back, letting her know that it'll be all right. I can call Darius. He's the town deputy. He can see if we have the resources to get y'all to Fort Collins. He's good friends with Henry, who leads the weekly convoy into the city for farming supplies. They might be able to get y'all there by Saturday. Saturday? Asked Steph, shaking her head. Our show is Friday night. We can't get anything sooner? Isn't there a bus out here or anything? Jude and Silas look at each other in humble disappointment. Afraid not, admits Silas, lowering his voice to almost a whisper. Oh, and that room Elias promised you is being rented out to the man himself. Jude conducts the most aggressive throat clearing I've ever heard in my life. Is occupied? The man himself has to be Jonah Macon. Steph has to be thinking the same thing, judging by how she's looking at me. So he's already in his room, and all these paparazzi are standing around for nothing. Well, so much for that, says Steph, shrugging. Well, hold on now, I ain't finished yet. Y'all need somewhere to stay tonight, right? I don't have much space in my trailer as it is, but I got room in my backyard for a tent and a couple sleeping bags. Steph and I exchange a smile. Camping doesn't sound so bad. 4. Camping.
Literally.
Silas owns a chicken coop. Chickens are loud. What if one of them shits on the tent? I ask, staring up at the coop. Relax, chuckles Steph, engrossed in something on her phone. We're not in the coop. When's the last time you saw a chicken projectile shit on anything? Fair. I watch Steph as she sits there, extremely focused. Her lips hang slightly open as she types, the light from her phone flickering in her eyes. She's sitting cross-legged on her sleeping bag. Both of the sleeping bags smell like animal, probably from Hector's dog, Chrissy. Poor Silas was so kind to let us stay in his yard, but his love for animals is quite perceptible. Steph sighs and then notices me looking. What? Does this count as a room? I ask, throwing in an eyebrow wiggle for good measure. Oh my God, she laughs. I love making her smile like that. I live for it. Hold on, Rowdy. I'm putting out an APB first. For what? To see if anyone from Haven Springs knows anyone in Barbazal with a spare actual room. Wow, you must really love roughing it. I smile. I actually don't mind. It's beautiful out here. But the smell and the squawking. The rooster interrupts her just as she says the word squawking, sending us into an eruption of laughs. Exactly, Buster. She gestures toward the coop. Even the birds have started mansplaining. I shake my head and look up at the sky. The stars are twinkling like diamonds, and here I am, with the girl of my dreams, in a stranger's backyard with chickens and sleeping bags, our instruments safely covered under a tarp in the back of his truck. On our way to Fort Collins to start a new adventure, traveling the world, taking on everything, for real this time. Hopefully. And I think I must be the luckiest girl alive. You were right, Gabe. I mouthed to the heavens. I'm making my own way. I'm facing my fears, Gabe, finding new spaces. I hum, keeping the words to myself while Steph enjoys the scenery. I reach for my guitar case now, click it open, and pull out my friend, give her a quick tuning, and strum my fingers along her strings as I hum the next line. You know how I feel about brand new places, but under the stars there's a world to explore. I watch Steph as she stares up at the sky in wonder, smiling to herself. With the girl of my dreams, how could I ask for more? A summer breeze rolls through the yard, through the mesh of the tent, and makes the hair on my arms stand on end, and I realize why it feels weird. It's been so hot all day. Sitting here outside feels like being in a refrigerator. It reminds me how cold that icy blue over Elias's head was, how it felt, how it weighed heavy on my chest. I suddenly remember his words. Jonah Macon won't bring home the bacon until he makes it rain. What do you think Elias meant? I'm asking Gabe, really, but this time I say it loud enough for Steph to hear. I think he meant business, says Steph absent-mindedly as she scrolls. I mean about Jonah making it rain. Usually, people mean strip clubs. She smiles. You think Barbazal has a strip club? Horny people are everywhere. She has a point. Ugh, what am I saying? I'm letting her distract me again. I mean, this whole drought situation must be really serious. Silas couldn't even spare us more than a water bottle each. The hotel with the emergency water supply is now out of water too. The trees are dying. These people are desperate. That gets her attention. She sets her phone down on her sleeping bag, curls her knees up to her chest, and stares at me. Yeah, she says. I hope Jonah comes through for them. Silence passes between us until Steph puts together what I'm thinking. You don't think Elias wants Jonah to play dirty, do you? I don't know what else make it rain could mean with the way he said it. He pointed right at me with the Uncle Sam face like... I lower my voice and imitate exactly how he said it, like a grandpa. Make it rain. Steph scoffs. That could mean anything. But after a moment, she humors me. But with how much he hates Jonah, it could be why he's mad at him. Maybe Jonah won't ruffle feathers, and given the water situation, maybe Elias thinks it's high time they should. High time? I chuckle. We've been in Barbazal too long. Anyway, again, don't get too invested, she says. There's not much we can do anyway, you know? We've got a show to pull off in a couple of days, and for now, no way to get there. I look out through the tent screen on the other side, where we can see half the town square. Up on this hillside, despite the noise of the chickens, Silas has a pretty sweet setup. The view is unbeatable. So many twinkling lights in the town. The Crown Inn has quieted down since we were there. Most of the guest room lights are off or dimly lit, everyone having given up on catching a glimpse of Jonah Macon. Then I noticed something I never would have without a view like this. Atop the inn, there's an extra block of building, like it was an afterthought when the engineers were designing the place. Windows on all sides, with curtains blocking the view in. The lights are all on 1 minute, and the next, they're off. But before the last of the light dims, I'm sure I see, against the curtained window, a figure just inside. Is that the penthouse suite? That's where penthouses usually are, right? On the very top floor, surrounded by windows, where no one can bother the super important people inside? Where else would Jonah Macon be staying but the penthouse suite? Would Elias have access to it at all times like that? Confident enough to tell us to drop his name to Jude and guarantee it would be ours for the night? How does he have so many connections in this town? I remember how easy it was for Jed to give me a room upstairs. He owned Haven Springs. What if Elias owns Barbazal? How would he? And then it clicks. It's got to be Jonah. Elias and Jonah have some kind of connection after all. Who else would cause so much fanfare? Steph? Oh no, she says playfully. I look back at her. You said my name like you're about to suggest something really crazy. Crazy or brave? Probably both, given how you're looking at me. There's a hint of flirtation in her voice, a golden halo around her head, warm and bright and electric. I feel it zipping all over me like tiny shocks, and that glow in her eyes as they travel down me and back up to my face. I shiver inside and wish I didn't have to direct this conversation where I do. What if, I begin. Steph's right, it's crazy and brave. What if I just talked to Jonah? You want to talk to Jonah Macon? She asks. You think he'll give us a ride to Fort Collins? No, I mean, I say, scrambling for words. How do I make this sound like a good idea? What if I talked him into helping these people with the drought? Steph does her absolute best, I can tell, to give my idea a chance. How would you do that? While I think of a way to answer that convincingly, she continues. I mean, he's a politician, right? I'm sure he's heard every argument in the book about why he should help these people with their drought. And if he hasn't said yes yet, what can you do to convince him? I just thought maybe if I just tapped into his emotions? The longest pause in the history of pauses settles between us, and at exactly the most inopportune time.
Technically, with Alex, that would be
Not now. I heard what she said, Steph exclaims, vaguely in the direction of the rooster. I smile, and she smiles back at me, but her eyes are also huge with disbelief. You're kidding, she says, scooting closer. You want to read Jonah? No, not invasively, exactly, just if I could see past that smile, past the mask, past all the curated image that makes up Jonah Macon. Maybe if I could see the real Jonah and make him realize what's important to these people, maybe I could explore his feelings about the dam. Her eyes are huge and hopeful, but then her smile falters slightly. Think you can do that before we get to Fort Collins? She asks. And I know what she's really asking. It's Wednesday night. Our gig is in 2 days. You want me to tap into a politician's subconscious, find out what makes him tick, and convince him to change his political position days before an election in 48 hours? I saw you take down the 7-year farce that was Jed Lucan's legacy in just a week. If anyone can do this, it's you. Our gig. What if we don't make it?
Yeah, but that took a week.
I lean forward and take her hand in mine. It's us, Steph.
The whole Jed thing took like a week. I don't think she's gonna be able to do all that in like 2 days. Uh, Unless she's going for a speed run, I guess. We'll see.
I say with more confidence than I feel. We always make it. Besides, I have to try. I saw the sadness in Elias, felt the sadness in Elias. I know I can't fix everyone's sadness. I can't fix one person's sadness. Not even a licensed therapist can do that. But if I can alleviate just a bit of the suffering I've seen here. I saw the pain in Elias's eyes as he watched Jonah's procession, and I saw Jonah's shell start to crack when he returned Elias's gaze. Whatever's going on with this drought and that dam, and Elias and Jonah, it all has to be connected. And if Jonah Macon, the politician, has a canned answer for any crowd question, and I just know he does, I have to get to Jonah Macon, the man. And given my powers, I might be the only person who can. I have to try, Steph. I can't just do nothing. I can't leave these people like this. I feel her squeeze my hand. I know, she says. And I meant what I said in Haven Springs. Wherever we go, whatever we do, as long as I'm with you, I'm in.
That is, well, for Alex, she really has a hard time not trying to help people. Because we did see that throughout True Colors. Like, there were plenty of situations where she could just leave. Just up and leave and not even worry about anybody. But more often than not, she stood there, she stayed, and tried to help them. Between helping Steph with her sadness, helping Eleanor with her memory thing, her dementia. So, so you could definitely see them doing that. Well, see Alex not wanting to leave things like they are.
Come on, Steph. I'm not giving up on Fort Collins or the rest of the world with you, I say. And that's a goddamn promise. Steph wouldn't say it to me. She knows how much this means to me, helping these people. But I know how much Fort Collins means to her. Another shot at the big time. A chance to perform in front of Isaac Harson and play music for anyone we want, wherever we want. A chance at a record deal and seeing the world with someone again. After all, that was Steph's goal before Haven Springs. Before me.
Mm-hmm.
She was on her way, too. And now? This is our chance to do it and make a living. Together. Who could pass that up? I promise, I say. And I mean it. And then I realize I've forgotten something. Something extremely important. Something I should have said this morning and probably would have if I hadn't been so frazzled. I'm sorry I didn't check the oil, I say. If it weren't for me, we'd already be in the city, taking it all in, playing together on some rooftop somewhere. Gazing into my eyes, she says, leaning in dramatically close. Not having to ask your forgiveness like this. Which you already have, she finishes, squeezing both my hands. Her phone buzzes on the ground beside us, and neither of us can resist looking down at it. A new message from Ethan Lambert. I can help. My uncle lives in Barbazal. He might let you sleep in the room I sleep in when I'm there. I look at Steph in shock. What did you put in that APB? She shrugs. I just asked if anyone in the Haven Springs group chat knew anyone in Barbazal who might have an extra couch to crash on.
I, I'm sorry. Erica's Erica's voice to try to her her Ethan voice is hilarious. Trying to act like, what was it? Ethan's like a he's still like a 10-year old. I believe he's like 10 at this in the main story. The whole point is he's a really young kid, and Erica trying to sound like that is extremely hilarious. Oh God, that voice just catches you off guard. Like holy moly, so funny.
Small world. I grin, and I hope she sees the pride in my eyes. Thanks, Steph. Don't mention it. She shrugs, pushing herself to her knees. You sure, you don't want to stay out here and enjoy the stars with me? And maybe each other? I want to say it. I want so badly to say it. I lean forward towards Steph. But then, all down the side of the tent, a thin white liquid drips, and one of the chickens barks and flaps away from the side of the coop. Steph jumps back from the wall, scrambles to grab for me. Ew, is that... I'm not ready for the weight of her, or her tripping over the blanket between us, and the tent goes tumbling. After we untangle, a tent full of screams, tent poles, zippers, and projectile chicken shit. Thank God this tent is waterproof. We escape, and 20 minutes later, we're knocking on the front door of Owen Lambert. The first thing I notice about Owen's house is how clean everything looks. Sure, it's small, tiny even. Definitely a trailer for a single person, but it's pristine. The whole thing is a sharp white, like hospital white. So sterile it hurts my eyes. There's not a scrape of rust or dirt anywhere, which, compared to the rest of Barbazal, makes it look brand new. You'd think the mayor lived here. I suddenly feel out of place standing here next to Steph with our duffel containing all our belongings and my guitar, armed with only a message from Ethan to prove we're safe to harbor for a night. What do you think Owen is like? Asks Steph. Clean, I say. And that's all I really have to go on. She nods and looks around the place, probably noticing the same things I have. Nice statue, she says, looking down at the one thing keeping us company out here on this front porch, a clay figurine of a knight holding a sword to the sky. It's not well done. Looks homemade. Could it be Ethan's? I smile, remembering his comics. I'd kill to have a copy out here with me. Something to pore through, something to distract me from the timer counting down the hours till our show. If we just had Isaac Harson's number. But all we've got is a memory of a nod from him and a promise that I'll be there in Fort Collins, waiting to hear us. I feel something well up in me. Persistence? Defiance? We'll make it to Fort Collins, even if I have to walk our instruments there myself. We have to. Steph leans forward and knocks again, harder this time. Think he's home? The door flies open, and Steph and I jump. Guess there's our answer. A man more than a foot taller than us leans out. glances at the outside of the front door nervously, and then looks up at both of us. Yes? He asks. Everything about his stature, his hunched over posture, the way his eyes shift between my face and Steph's, his head glows purple. Yup. He's afraid of something. She begins, sensing that there's something weird going on here. I'm Steph Gingrich. This is Alex Chen. We're from Haven Springs. His eyes widen, and that purple glow retreats just a bit. Haven Springs? He repeats. We know your nephew, Ethan, I say. The purple flares up again. What's going on? Is he okay? His voice is totally panicked. Did something happen to Charlotte? Oh God, I'm handling this horribly. No, I reply. I mean, yes, Ethan's fine. And no, nothing happened to Charlotte. We're not here about Ethan. We're here to talk to you. About what? He asks, recoiling just a bit back inside the house.
He's about to give Ethan's uncle here a fucking heart attack over here. He's like, what happened?
If you're here with the press. We're not the press, says Steph, her voice sharply turning this conversation back to the relevant topic. We're here to ask if we can stay in the guest room for the night. Ethan said it would be okay. He raises an eyebrow. Look, we know it's late, but we're supposed to play a show in Fort Collins on Friday night, and our car is stranded up the road with busted pistons, and no one's available to drive us. There's no bus, and... Crown Inn is booked with Jonah Makin's fan club. I cut in. I hate to interrupt Steph like this, but I can feel her spiraling next to me, and I have to ground us. Someone has to. That's the real problem, anyway. If this hadn't happened the week that Jonah Makin was running for office out here in the middle of nowhere, we'd be cozied up in that hotel and figuring out a way to get to Fort Collins. Hell, somebody out here would probably be able to drive us. I unclench my fists and shut my eyes, willing the patience to manifest in me. It doesn't. So, you're with Maisie's people? Asks Owen, visibly stiffening. We're not with anybody, insists Steph. Least of all a state senator, I say.
Son, they just said Uncle Owen can be pretty dense here. It's like, they just told you they know Ethan and Charlotte and all that stuff. I was like, I don't think anyone in this town really would know them, so highly doubt they would give a crap about what side of the political aisle they're sitting on, really. They just want to get to the gig they need to go to, okay?
Least of all a right-wing politician, I want to add. We're just looking for a place to crash, and then we'll be out of here. Promise. His shoulders relax. That purple halo shrinks just a bit. Clearly, he's more comfortable with us now that he has the idea we're not cool with politicians. But honestly, I don't know how to feel about Jonah or Maisie. I still haven't heard a single detail about their political positions. Just that people around here feel very strongly about both of them. All we know is there's a dam and a drought, and Jonah and Maisie, Steph replies better than I can, and a lot of really strong opinions, one way or the other. You've been talking to Elias, he says, a smile playing on his mouth. He glances over his shoulder as if he's going to find some guidance on a final decision here before turning back to us and nodding. Come in, he says. Just, please don't touch anything. 5. Owen. Steph and I sit at Owen's table as he stares down at his mug of coffee. I can tell it's coffee because I can smell it, and not because we have cups of coffee in front of us. Because we don't. We have nothing in front of us. I feel my stomach turn over with hunger, and I look around to keep myself busy so I don't ask what kinds of snacks Owen has and come across rude. We really did just knock on his front door and ask for a place to stay, after all. I don't expect this single man to have enough food to feed 3 adults. So, he begins, breaking the silence. How is Ethan, anyway? Steph and I nod silently until I venture a reply. He's great, I say, although it's been several days since I saw him. Last we checked. I spot a picture on the small console table behind us that looks worn down for decades, based on the state of the wood. Inside the picture frame is a shot of Ethan. A much, much younger Ethan. It's a professionally shot picture. Looks like it might have been taken at a department store. He's grinning between his chubby little cheeks, arms outstretched to the camera. I smile. He looks so damn happy, so bubbly. I wonder if even back then people could tell he saw the world as a mecca of adventure, ripe for the taking. His parents, Liam and Charlotte, had to see it even then, right? He looks so out of place in such a formal photo studio. I might not even have recognized him as the LARPer who bravely defended Haven Springs from evil with me. I look back at Owen, who hasn't taken his eyes off the table, gripping the coffee mug like something serious is on his mind. His head looks like an iris with that deep purple aura. He's scared again. The fear creeping bigger and bigger above him, like a looming, swelling giant threatening to swallow the whole room like a balloon. It feels light and floaty, gossamer like a spider web. He's absolutely terrified. Of what? His index finger traces his coffee mug handle, up and down, up and down, up and down. Then he taps 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. Then up and down, up and down, up and down. I glance at Steph to see if she notices, but she's engrossed in her phone. I glance over her shoulder to see she's texting Ethan. Thanks, man. Yeah, have fun. I hid chocolate under the guest room mattress. If it's still there, you can have it. I smile. Sick. Thanks, Ethan. Up and down. Tap, tap, tap. Does he have OCD? That purple aura glowing around his head morphs into something that feels prickly, almost like pins and needles, uncomfortable, like I would do anything to get away from it. An itch I can't scratch. I want to scratch it. Hey, says Steph, setting the phone in her lap and looking up at him. Why'd you think Ethan might not be okay? He sighs, almost in defeat. Yeah, he starts, but then he shakes his head. No. I know he's okay. I keep up on my block, and sometimes he texts. But his mom, she hasn't been herself for a couple of weeks now. Just completely shut down after she lost Gabe. Barely speaks anymore. Turned into a total zombie. Ethan shouldn't have to deal with that. Oh. I try not to squirm in my seat, but I feel like I might be sick. Has she tried therapy, or... I cut myself off at the look he's giving me, like, you think we haven't tried that? And then he goes back to tapping on the table and staring at nothing. The purple aura remains. Mr. Lambert, I venture, leaning forward and resting my elbows on the table. No. He starts, his hand flying out like the table is going to burn me. I flinch back. I mean, I'm sorry. Clearly something else is bothering you. What is it?
Um, little tidbit. Uh, I don't. With that description of Charlotte, I think. Excuse me. I think. Um, I think there. I think the implication there was the choice that they went with for this story. I think was taking Charlotte's anger away. Because when you take Charlotte's anger away in True Colors, she actually kind of becomes an emotion, like like a husk, emotionless, like zombie kind of. So his description there, so Owen's description kind of reflects uh, that choice instead of leaving Charlotte with the anger to deal with it. Because if you leave the anger to deal with it, she's more upbeat and positive by the end of the game. So I think with this they went with the stealing the anger choice because that's what the emotionless husk like line that Owen's description was pretty much implies is that that's the choice that they went with. Interesting.
Steph looks first at me and then at Owen. Yeah, we're here to listen, she says, putting her phone away. We've got all night while we figure out how to get to Fort Collins. Owen lets out a huge sigh and then glances over at the TV, which has been aimlessly broadcasting whatever's been on. He picks up the remote and shuffles through the channels until we land on a woman standing behind a podium. Short, dark hair, dark eyes, faint pink lipstick with a sign in front of her. Maisie Dorsey. That woman is bothering me. Maisie Dorsey? Asked Steph. Why? The hell is up with this town hanging their lives on a national election? It's about the dam, isn't it? I ask. That gets Owen's attention. He turns from the TV to me and narrows his eyes. Who told you about the dam? He asks,
Damn.
his voice darker than I expected. Elias, at his shop? Oh, right. Elias. He sighs with an eye roll. He probably told you all of Jonah's business. Tried to dissuade you from voting for him, huh? Of course, that's not how it went down at all, but Steph and I look at each other and exchange the same idea. No need to tell him exactly how it happened, lest we feed this fire. That purple fireball above his head has warmed into red. Oh, and we don't know anything about either candidate, I assure him, trying to calm him down. We're just trying to get to Fort Collins. He looks from me to Steph and seems to decide we're still trustworthy. I'll make it real easy for you then, he says, leaning back in his chair and pulling out a cigarette. The red inferno cools down and dissipates into nothing as he clicks the lighter a few times and inhales deeply. Lazy Maisie Dorsey wants to hold back even more water with that dam. At least Jonah would open the levels a little more so we could have enough water to live. Lesser of two evils, if you ask me. There's that dam again. Why? Asks Steph. Why? Laughs Owen, heaving back into a huge guffaw. Don't you know what the hell dams do? begins Steph. Now that I think about it, I don't really know either. Besides, you know hydropower? Don't they generate sustainable power? Some of them, he spits. Not ours. It's just your regular run-of-the-mill, water-limiting, ecosystem dysregulating corporate erection. Maisie's in the pockets of all the bigwigs on Capitol Hill. She wants the dam because they want the dam, and not because she cares if Barbazal needs water. Steph and I exchange a glance, and I hope she's not as confused as I am. Turns out she is. Mr. Lambert, she starts. No offense, but why does Maisie Dorsey care about this particular dam if she's after a Senate seat? Because the Colorado River feeds right into the Barbazal River. If they divert the water back into the Colorado River, there's more water for other parts of the state. More important parts. Parts with lawns and sprawling estates. I let him talk, but I'm not so sure that's how dams work. He hisses those last two words and takes another drag of his cigarette. I don't want to come across as bitter, but she's so easy to hate, you know? We've been doing what they ask, conserving water, doing our part. We're a farming community, goddammit. How are we supposed to conserve any more than we have without it affecting our livelihood? This is what Barbazal does. I see. But then I realize there's a piece missing, a connector in this network of cause and effect. Why is Maisie campaigning here, though, in Barbazal, with so few voters? No offense, but why isn't she campaigning in Denver if she wants to win the whole state? Because her biggest competition, Jonah Macon, is campaigning to come up with some kind of agreement on both sides, on the basis of protecting the environment. In a blue state? She'd better have her ass down here campaigning on his home turf. I glance at Steph again. You mark my words, says Owen, huffing out another plume of smoke. Much as I hate politicians, Jonah Macon is our only way out of this. The extra bedroom, the guest room Ethan promised us, is small but cozy. In fact, it looks too cozy. My eyes find a picture of Ethan on the dresser, dressed in head-to-toe LARPing gear as the noble knight Thanor, the only evidence of Ethan in the room. He must not spend much time here. I wonder how often he visits his uncle. A huge Nordic patterned blanket covers the queen-sized bed, which takes up most of the room. The space between it and the dresser is barely squeeze-throughable, but I manage. While Steph explores the room and unzips her duffel, I plop down on the bed, find my pocket journal, and do what most of the therapists I've ever known have told me to do. I write down my thoughts. As disjointed and shattered as they are, it feels better to get them out. They don't have to be well written or even coherent. They just have to be out of my brain. Poor Elias, I write. Something's weighing heavy on him. He seems to feel so strongly about so many things. Jonah Macon, cars, his shop, Silas, the dam. His sadness felt deep, like the sting of frostbite, something he can't get rid of, craving warmth to melt it away. I have a feeling that this situation with the dam goes a lot deeper than Jonah Macon. I sigh, clutching the pen tighter. How the hell am I supposed to untangle this in 2 days? Press it down again. I have to do something. I can't just leave this place to burn itself. Steph finds her way around the other side, and without hesitation, she climbs on beside me and sighs. Alive. I look up at the ceiling, at the little green stars speckled all over it, and some even trickling down the walls, and I remember lying in the woods with Ryan that day we found a sliver of joy after Gabe's passing. It was so weird, so surreal. It felt strange to laugh after having been through so much pain and shock, but we found a way. Gabe, I think quietly, I'm doing it. I'm on my way to Fort Collins, the first stop on our tour of the world. If we ever get there. If only we had Harson's number. I guess we could DM him, but he's got over 1 million followers. His DMs are probably... I pull out my phone to check. Yup, closed. Thunder cracks outside, rumbling across the sky like a hungry stomach, and I shut my eyes, thankful that Barbazal is about to get some rain. Who the hell would divert the Colorado River away from a farming community? Do rich people not understand that their locally grown organic produce requires water?
No.
Would they rather have a lush green lawn than food?
Yes.
Why is the world so twisted and backwards?
You tell me.
And why am I back to thinking so hard about other people's problems? This isn't even my issue. There's not much I can do but talk to Jonah Macon, if I can even get close enough to him, and even that's a long shot. I should just bury the Barbazal water problem in my brain, file it away somewhere in its deep recesses, and focus on getting to Fort Collins. But I can't. What if Jonah doesn't listen, and Barbazal dries up, and all these people who have spent their whole lives here, Ethan's dad and Silas and Elias, have to pack up everything and leave the only home they've ever known? As far as I know, nobody else here has the kind of power that would let them tap into what makes someone tick, what makes someone really afraid, and use it to remind them what's really important. So the fate of Barbazal might rest in my hands. I sigh. Our car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, and suddenly I'm responsible for thousands of livelihoods. I roll to my side and look at Steph, who I'm startled to find is lying on her side staring at me. Those piercing brown eyes. What's up? I ask. I could ask you the same thing. I sigh. Just thinking, I say, which isn't a lie, but isn't the truth either. Thinking or spiraling? She asks. I smirk. She continues. We're going to make it to Fort Collins. I can feel it. And Barbazal is going to be fine. Out here in the wilderness, I'm sure they've had droughts before, right? I shake my head. I get the feeling they haven't, I say. Not like this. Maybe a natural one, but not a man-made one. Steph sighs, conceding that I'm right. I wish I had telekinetic powers, she says, so I could just divert the river myself. Let the politicians sort it out later. You'd really do that? I ask, teasing. Hell yeah. If Owen is right, and they're really rerouting the Colorado River to serve a bunch of rich asses with lawns, they can choke. I snort. This girl is too much. I stare into her eyes, dark and deep, and find her hands under the blanket. I told you, she says. I'm here for you. Whatever happens. I know you care about people. Like, a lot. So if you need to talk to Jonah Macon, we'll talk to Jonah Macon. But how? I ask. He's a celebrity politician, apparently. At least to these people, says Steph. But he has to be alone sometimes, right? Everybody shits. I am not talking to Jonah while he's taking a shit. You won't have to. We'll figure it out tomorrow. For now, she says, rolling over and unzipping her duffel on the nightstand. I hear the crinkle of cellophane, and my stomach folds over and growls. Corn chips, anyone? She asks, tossing a bag over her shoulder so it hits me square in the chest. Oh, hell yeah, I say, sitting up and tearing open the bag like a wild animal. I chonk them all down so fast I barely have time to taste them. I look up and see Steph turning up her bag and pouring the crumbs into her mouth. We look at each other, still hungry. Let's find a diner tomorrow, first thing in the morning. I nod, and then I remember Ethan's text. I turn and reach down under the mattress we're both on. What are you? I pull out a bar of chocolate. A huge bar. Like, Ethan mentioned he had chocolate stashed. He didn't say he had a chocolate stash the size of my face. Jackpot.
All right. So we will leave. So we will leave it there for today. But which I think is a good spot to leave it because it's kind of like we just got done with their whole first full day of being stuck in this town. So we got lay of the land for some of the more important characters we will be interacting with for the rest of the story and whatnot. Got introduced pretty much to the main conflict going on in the town here that they have to deal with since they're gonna be stuck here for a while. So, and obviously Alex is too nice to just sit there and just be a passive observer in all this. So, in any case, we'll see how much this goes. Well, how well and potentially how poorly this will go for Steph and Alex. If the little summary on the back of the book is anything to go by. But in any case, hope you enjoyed the first part of Life is Strange Heatwaves as we continue the story of Alex and Steph on their quest to try to become professional musicians now, like a professional band and stuff. So we'll see how well that works for them by the end of this story as we continue on. So in any case, I will see you all hopefully in the next one. And again, this is JR, and I will catch you guys next time.